Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux taking a look at the kickoff leg of the 50-cent late pick 5 at Santa Anita on Cal Cup Saturday. Race number 5 is the Cal Cup Oaks, 1 mile on the turf, newly turned 3-year-old fillies. Let's take a look at this field. Nice 9-horse field in here. A couple of horses trying turf for the first time, a couple of horses stretching out in distance. So you've got several handicapping angles to work with, Ashley, and I'm not sure there's a true standout in this race.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe there's a handful of horses, 2 or 3, that you could endorse on the top spot, but all in all, I think it's a great betting race. I think in terms of the exotics, maybe you can swing a little bit and pick a price underneath, at least for horses that are getting back on the turf for the first time, or they're going long on the turf for the first time. I think that's a big thing that these horses are going to get tested for in the Cal Cup Oaks. So I thought this is another race that on Saturday at Santa Anita looks to be a great betting adventure.
And with several horses stretching out in distance, there should be some pace on. So we'll throw up our Timeform US pace projector. The 9 Grand Slam Smile stretching out. Tough outside post to make the lead, especially with horses like the 6 Recalcitrant, the 7 Madison Ray. They've shown sprint speed on dirt. And even the 2 Prancing Through Paris has been up close to the pace in her dirt sprint races. So this pace could be lively.
I think it should be lively. You mentioned Recalcitrant. Horse coming out of a couple 4.5 furlong races with Speedy stretching out to 7/8 and just going to make that second start since late May. And Madison Ray was forward. Not that she was necessarily super fast in that race. It was going a mile on the dirt. And it'll be interesting for horses from the outside and the inside. They've both flashed it a little bit as well. So I think it's tough to really say who's going to be out in the lead here, just knowing that it's a mile on the grass. But I do think the pace will be quick.
The 1 Petit Filet might be able to work out a good trip from her inside post. She probably will save valuable ground and settle in behind a quick pace. She's only raced once on turf. I really don't want to hold that race against her. It was her debut. She drew a tough outside post going 5/8 of a mile, and 3 other horses came back to win out of that race. So I think Petit Filet, you're supposed to treat her as trying turf for the first time. She's done some good things on the dirt.
She has. I was a little disappointed, though, in the race, the Soviet problems at Los Alamitos race course, but maybe she can rebound here. I do like, though, that they've decided to keep her going long, going to give her another try, because I thought her race at 7/8, I know she was well defeated, but I still think it was a well-meant second. She really tried in that spot. I think it's worth noting she's going to get a rider change, because Ishimura has been out in California for the winter times before Woodbine kicks off again, and he's going to climb a border for the first time.
Prancing Through Paris, the number 2, stretches out around 2 turns for the first time, like Petit Filet. This one has not raced on turf since the debut, although Prancing Through Paris performed much better. Here is the debut try against Calbred Maiden Specials, going 5/8 of a mile on the pace throughout, kept on going. Solid performance for Prancing Through Paris. You don't worry about surface with this one.
No, surface isn't the issue. 2 of her 3 efforts since then have been good. Her one poor effort was going 7/8 on the dirt. And you wonder if it's just, kind of the fortune of the situation that unfolded there, where she was chasing the pace and she did tire in there. She was going longer. You also wonder if it was just the dirt going longer. Can she maybe, take it to a different level on the turf again? I wouldn't be surprised to see so. And I know the buyer for her debut is light, but it's a debut. I don't really read into those too much. I think what you kind of look at is visually she looked good and she took to the turf just fine.
Down from Northern California is the 3 Our Sweet Candy, who placed in her debut going 2 turns on the turf and then scored last time out in this race on the all-weather surface, going a mile. Got a nice setup. They went quick for this class of horse. The opening quarter, 22-4. I thought all in all, Our Sweet Candy got a pretty good trip overall and was able to slip on through and score. The buyer came back a bit light, but these horses do tend to improve, these lightly raced 3-year-olds at this time of year.
And she still raced well on debut, I think. I think you can't really fault her debut at all. She ends up being second, misses by just a length in the quarter in the end. And I know she switched surfaces, but she can run on the turf. She can run on the synthetic. I don't think the surface is the issue. Maybe this is just a step forward. It's a stakes race facing winners for the first time, so it's never easy, even if it's just against the Calbreds. But at least what she's shown so far, you can't really knock her.
Asada Fries scored on turf 2 starts back at Del Mar to win a maiden special weight, and then was third against Madison Ray when switching to dirt. We're going to look at that turf race, and I like the way Asada Fries was able to just relax off of the lead. When it was time to kick, she did, and she finishes it off pretty well. I think this filly has a lot of upside, and moving back to the grass is going to work for her.
I agree. I don't think she really embarrassed herself on the dirt last time. She didn't miss by much in the end, and I think the key in her last 2, at least as you've mentioned, just sitting off of it. She went to the lead 3 starts back and she tired. And I think in terms of trip, if the pace is hot and she gets a nice position, she draws closer to the inside and can just save ground and sit off of them, I think this could be a big performance from her, and she could certainly find herself in the winner's circle.
There are things to like about the five. Sushi Sticks, who is the fastest late time form U.S. pace runner in the field, and the only time she faced Calbred competition was her career debut on turf going a mile. She won that race. She was overmatched in the Grade 3 Surfer Girl 2 starts back. Tried boys last time out in the Gold Rush, most notably odds on Wild Jules, who we'll see in the Cal Cup Derby on Saturday's card. Sushi Sticks did just fine to run third in here.
She did. I mean, she showed a little bit of greenness, and I'm not sure what she's kind of getting out a little bit in this spot, and she's still, switching her tail throughout in the stretch, but she is going to close the gap. And it almost to me looked like it was taking her a little bit to figure out what her rider was asking her. And once she figured it out, she goes, oh, okay. And then she kind of found that other gear and took off. So I think she's very intriguing. We know the turf isn't a problem, and if the pace is hot, she's going to benefit from it. So I think she's got a really live shot in this spot. And as you've alluded to, that was against the boys last time out.
Our next two entrants will be trying turf for the first time. Both are sired by Pavel. Still limited data on Pavel. Not sure what he's going to be as a turf sire just yet. Recalcitrant, though, has got some turf pedigree. A half to a stakes-winning turf runner named Hacking It Up. The Dam won twice on the turf. The second Dam won on the turf. So Recalcitrant, I think, will handle the surface. It's all about, can she deal with a hot pace, off a layoff, going 2 turns. I hear this Dettori kid rides well on the grass.
Yeah, he's okay, right, Dan? He rides pretty well, I think, regardless of the surface. And I guess my question is I don't know what to do with 4.5 furlong races, whether they're out west of California or they're out, say, Keeneland. They're just really hard to read with the 2-year-olds. And we've mentioned, had a big break, returned to the races, didn't show anything, and stopped in the race. It's had a little bit of a freshening once again, and a switching surfaces. There's just a lot going on. I think the turf shouldn't be an issue. This one could be forwardly placed. How far does she want to go? That's the other question. So if you like her and you're willing to take chances with her with all these sort of unknowns, she's going to offer value.
Madison Ray, the number 7, also has some turf pedigree. The second Dam was a Grade 2 stakes winner on the long, and what Madison Ray has is something Recalcitrant doesn't have, and that's good form around 2 turns, winning the Soviet Problem last time at Los Alamitos.
I thought it was a really nice performance from her. Was able to take that field gate to wire, and we're showing the replay now of Madison Ray. Her 2 of her best performances have been when she's been quite forward, but even on debut, she was a couple of lengths off of it, made a late run. So you can maybe draw a line through that race 2 back. But I think what the big thing here is we talk about these races at Los Al. She really needed to find everything that she could in the stretch, just because it is long, it's grueling, and horses were coming up and trying to challenge her, but she just finds enough to get the job done. So she comes in here off a career best effort, and the big question for her will be the turf.
I wonder if a horse lurking under the radar is the 8 Putt for Doe's, only raced once previously on the turf in Tough in the Grade 3 Surfer Girl, not only from a class standpoint, but it was a race where they ran 1, 2, 3 all the way around the track, and she tried to rally into it. The 6th finisher from that race came back to win the Jimmy Durantia graded race with a 77 buyer. Last 2 starts on dirt. This time around, going to get some pace to run at. These connections still showing confidence, throwing her into the stake.
Yeah, that's a big thing to point out. I'm glad you brought it up, Dan. Stakes race after stakes race. Since her debut, they have just kept her in these ranks, and it makes you wonder if they're trying different things with her. How is she going into this race? She's going to go a mile again on the grass. I guess the concern is, I guess she's a closer through and through, as we've seen in her racing so far to this point. And I'm just wondering, is she going to be too far back? We've talked about horses maybe being in the sweet spot, and I just think sometimes if you're the deepest closer in the bunch and you're really, working for it, maybe there'll be too much work to do late.
Completing the field's the 9 Grand Slam Smile, making her turf debut. She's been good on dirt. She's been good on the synth. Here's her last race, the Golden Gate Debutante, 3/4 of a mile, second start off a little bit of a layoff, and she got wired in this race, but she's also 2 to 5, and she's trying hard in the stretch to get second, but never really threatens this winner.
No, it doesn't get close to the winner. And, it's probably her most disappointing performance to this point, because even in her other second place finish 3 back, she was making up ground, where here she just was chasing really hard, couldn't get the job done. I do think the good things about her, she's been very versatile from 4.5 to 7. She's been able to run on the synthetic and the dirt. Another one that's got to try the turf. I don't think it's even a doubt that she can run on the turf. I don't think it should be an issue, just knowing how she's been able to race at Golden Gate. And I think the big thing that she has here, she does have the outside draw, but she has that versatility. She can be forward. She can be a couple lengths off of it. And she's really hard to knock on her resume. She's done a lot so far.
Let's take a look at our top picks for the Cal Cup Oaks. You're going with Madison Ray. I'm going with Recalcitrant. They're both daughters of Pavel. They're both trying turf for the first time, and maybe simply because of the surface, which we get a little bit of a price.
Hey, head to head with the Pavel horses in here. I think the big thing is Madison Ray. I like her 2 efforts. I like that she comes in here off a win. It wasn't at a mile, but it was on the dirt. So she's got the turf test. And I talked about it when we were talking about Recalcitrant. You're going to get the price, and you just don't know what you're getting. The maiden score was still pretty impressive, and this horse was able to draw off. So off the long layoff, you have no idea what will happen. You should get the value.
I wonder if Frankie's just going to send and hope for the best with Recalcitrant. Maybe is the speed. We both have Sushi Sticks in here. I think that horse is going to give a good account, returning to turf and facing Philly's only competition again. 7-4-9-5 for Ashley, 6-9-5-1 for me. Good edition of the Cal Cup Oaks on Saturday. Best of luck.